Hi, good evening, traders. Happy Thursday, and this is Krishna Joshi with you guys again. And I'm going to bring you today's trader takeaways. Sort of a low volume day overall in SPYs. It felt like right after like 11 o'clock, things just the moves were really small. Uh, and not a lot of stocks were moving except like a couple of them that we had on the watch list. So fairly small watch list today on the day. In fact, the watch list for earnings today night is much bigger than what we're watching on the day. Quite an interesting bunch of low floats as well with us. So I'm quickly going to dive into SPY. The 5 minute, I like that one. And we've seen like we're waiting for the 261 retest, and below which hopefully we can get into the 56, 57 area. That would be nice levels to probably start thinking buy the dips again. So SPY overall looking not really going anywhere, looking a little bit toppy, and every time we hit resistance into that 64, 65 area, we sort of end up going nowhere on the day. So that's what I feel. That's my take on SPYs. Let's jump into the low floats because these stocks are moving, gapping up every day, and the R-wall on some of these is just insane. So CLDC, China lending, it's a former runner. Look at these spikes. So right, you know that these are trash stocks. They go back to where they start from. They do absolutely no volume. So this is like a 30-minute chart. The stock barely trades when it's not moving. And today it had some PR in the morning, some stake with some other company. Nothing really meaningful on that, but the one thing to notice there is it's a really low float. It has a very small float. The average volume is usually very low, and which is why like a decent amount of volume push in it can really move the stock a whole lot. So the stock's gapping up, not really doing any volume up until like 9:15, and that's when you get the push from 135 into the 60. Tries to sort of retrace, makes a new high, like a double top by just a little bit, and then rest of the day it did absolutely just sold off. So it was a nice fader for us. I'm gonna jump into a few setups that we took on the desk. So the first trade was it just sells off, goes through that 55, 56 area that was holding in the pre-market. Comes back, retests it a little bit, so we ended up getting short in the low 50s, somewhere in here. The stop at this point was 61 for me, because what I was noticing was if it goes through 55, holds below it, I don't want to give it all the way up here. I'm gonna scale in gradually and then see how it works out for me. Give a nice wash, covered some in I think the 42, 43 area, and then we get a nice squeeze again in the 60s. So this is where I did not get short into the wick, but I got short in the weakness right after. So at this point I'm thinking, is it a little bit of a chase or is it a good spot to get in? But what I start noticing is the offers start coming in. It tries to shake out the shorts, tries to show fake bids and offers on both sides. But once it starts hitting the bid that is spoofing below the actual current bid just starts disappearing. So that's my tell. I'm feeling like this isn't really there's no real bids out there, and once it starts hitting the bids, it just collapses absolutely. So that is what I was thinking. So started hitting in the low 50s again, and I covered everything in the 44, 45 area. And then I felt like, does it want to go back again, do something like pull another BOXL kind of setup? But what it kept doing was it started holding below the 50, and boom, right again starts selling off, and then we get nice little push, holds below 40, and then just starts going sideways. And what happens here is if you're stuck, let's say, you want to see if you can cover easily, and if you can cover 36, 37, you want to see how much is it going to bounce back, all those shorts if they want to cover. And what I notice is it's not even touching 40, it's struggling below that. It's holding the 40, 41, and I got a nice little short in the 39s, added some on the roll here, and covered pretty much everything 28, 29. So I was done and dusted by this point, covered everything 29 and 28, and I was out of the trade, done with it. CLDC was a fairly easy one, something that I wanted to see with BOXL yesterday, except that this one happened fairly quickly, like no real shakeouts, just one push through VWAP trying to test new highs, and then just we get a nice sell-off. BLNK was the one I went long overnight, covered some in the 43s in the pre-market, and we got a nice real squeeze right off the open. So at this point I'm not really getting engaged on the short side because I know the stock closed at 225 yesterday, doing absolutely nothing up until 9:15, but it took off really well, and I started seeing that it was struggling at the 95 area, 94, 95 area. So it goes down, comes back for a retest, and I get in with like a third of my size. Ended up shorting 88 with the stop at 96, and I get a quick nice wash. I didn't have my full size, but I didn't really want to test my full size on this one. I wasn't thinking about a long, probably because I sold my longs from my overnight longs in the 43s. Would have definitely felt like a chase here. And once I saw the rejection, even before the $3 mark, just got a little bit of short, covered into the wash, and since it started doing something what BOXL did, started ranging again. So I had my trend lines drawn really quickly, started looking at these levels, started shorting, and played the range up until I felt it was ready to really break and give a nice little follow through. So I ended up shorting 52, 53, 54, about 4 or 5 trades, and all of these wicks covered, got nice washes, didn't really want to get stuck. In fact, I wanted to see fail in the low 50s, and if once I saw that, I would short the 51, 50, 49 and cover into the wash. So even on this one, I think I was pretty much done by 11, 11:30, right around here. No real trades in this one in the afternoon or end of day. So BLNK was my best stock on the day. Did fairly well on that one. VTVT was a tough one for me today. Felt like a couple of mistakes I did with BOXL yesterday. So with this one on VTVT, again a low float name. I did try a long, so I saw that 315 is a huge offer, 312 offer steps down, and ended up shorting some 308s, 307, covered some, tests again at the 315 and 312 offer again. So there are two offers on this one. So same thing, I'm shorting it again, and I covered everything at the 15 mark, went long as it felt like it's gonna wipe out the huge offer there. So I had a nice little long here, just having some trouble here. Yeah, there we go. And right around here, so I bought the breakout of the 15, so covered my shorts for a little bit of loss, ended up buying the 15s, covered some into the 25, 26 area, and now the 30 offer starts holding. And now once we see like this 30 getting rejected again, got a nice little sell again, shorted everything, and again added some more, trying to take some off. So I started trading this, and it felt like it's a long setup because it's making higher bases. So this is at this point I stopped shorting it, and I feel like I want to see if it wants to really hold 30 on the upside. And once it rejects the 28, once it rejects the 32, 30 offer comes in. So this is where I start shorting again. This is where I feel comfortable, confident again. So I ended up shorting heavily in the 18s, 19, 18 and 17 on this one, and I got squeezed out pretty much up to 28, 29 on this one. So I ended up taking a nice loss on this one. I did get a nice wash in the end. I shorted the 27s, 26s, either this or this one, and got a nice little wash. But my loss from this one was fairly substantial. I had a decent sized position, and I took a decent loss on this one. So finished down on the stock on this one, on this ticker, but quite a few learning lessons for me there. What I did like about this was watching the level to real close. So I was able to switch my bias, switch from cover the 12s, 13s, 14, 15, get long 15s. Um, I like how the trend was holding, so I'm not really going and shorting against it. Instead, waited for a confirmation. And up until at this point, when I'd usually see something like a double top by a few cents up or down, I feel like, all right, this is the shakeout, something we saw in CLDC, and that's my sign to get in. So I'm not really disappointed or pissed about uh, not about getting short, or I should have stayed away from it. Rather, I could definitely work on the position sizing on this one. So VTVT losing symbol on the day for me. MBOT. It took me a few tries in MBOT. Um, I'm thinking on the long side all throughout. So I'm buying MBOT on the pullbacks. I'm buying the 20s, 25s, getting stopped out below 9. Then I bought it again in the 25s, 30s. So the only problem with this trade was I had 3 long trades in this one. One of them finally worked, got a nice real cover up in the 10-20 area. But my first buy was 927, and I took a loss on it. My next buy was higher than that, and I ended up selling 920 and 918 on this one. And my final buys were with an average price around 938 to 940. So right around here, started accumulating here, scale out on everything. So the only problem with this one was not really holding on to the position, especially on this one. It's still caught up in the range. There's no reason for me to get out. Huge bids started showing up at 925, takes out 920 is a huge bid, and once it takes that out, it's a panic exit for me. So that's something that I can think about it in the hindsight that I could have done differently there. All right, so let's jump into heavy volume stock FCX earnings play today. And FCX, we've seen in the last few quarters, it's been down substantially on earnings. Big down day on earnings. This was sometime last year, Q2. And even the next few earnings, we've seen a lot of down days in this one. So once it gapped down and started holding below, I knew that at this point the stock is going to get SSR. So instead of trading this job, chasing it down and then getting wigged out, I wanted to let it touch 10% SSR and then try to get on the wicks, get short, and probably ride the trend. And so I had a nice little sell in the 11:15 area, right around here on the break. Goes SSR, comes back up. Now I'm looking at it. It's really hard to get any shares. I'm not hitting it aggressively as yet. And once I see the offer size going up from like 50, 60,000 on the offer to like 200,000 on the offer, that's when I'm thinking like that's my cue. It's hitting the bid aggressively. It's wiping the bid. So I could tell it's more like an algo just selling longs, just hitting all the NYSEs, all the exchanges. And that's why I ended up getting short in the low 11s, massive size over here. The offer is just 200k, massive offer, just chasing it down, and got a nice little cover in right at the bottom of the dip. That's 89. So I ended up covering, got 89s on this one. Got a nice little short in the 91. I think it was 93 half and 91 half, and then just rode it down for a little bit. I missed this one completely, but on the pullback again got involved right around here. The clue again on this one was to wait for a nice offer to kick in. Be comfortable with knowing that 76 is going to hold. So now I'm getting short 72 halves, 73 halves with a clear stop and risk reward in mind. So that's something that worked for me in FCX. I had a couple of small losers in this one, but nothing substantial. Just trying to get a feel for it, testing mids, testing liquidity on both sides. But the real trade started right around the 11:02, 1097 area and got a nice cover, got a nice wash, and then a couple of other ones. And the infamous PCG that I want to go over. So the news broke out intraday. The stock is still moving, as you can see, after hours. And as the news broke out on PCG that they are not responsible for the 2017 wildfires, and one of the biggest stakeholders really backing them up over the last few days, they've secured some 5.5 billion in debt. uh, this was, I think, 2 days ago, I think on Tuesday afternoon. So the stock's really been in a sort of a range, holding those ranges, making higher bases, and then rallying from there. And today actually was a big push. The stock closed on upper limit, opens again on the second limit up and the third limit up. So $14.18 was the third limit up, and this one was like a 20%. This one was actually like a 40%, and it halted for longer than 5 minutes. I think this was like an 8 or a 10-minute halt. Uh, the rules changed in the last half hour or so. So what I was seeing was looking at spots to get involved. 14.25, so it halted at 14.18, and we opened right below it. So that was a good spot for me to get involved with PCG, get short a little bit, and got a really nice fill at 13.01 on the covers. Started reshorting again in the 13.50 area. Got stopped out on a little bit because I think 75 offers started holding, so I put my stop above that, got slipped a little bit, got involved again, and then caught again all the way down, covered in the 13.05 area. There was that one spot where it broke through 13 on the final push, and that's where I was short again, covered in the 12.60. So this one was I felt like a chase because 13.50s held. I could have got a better price on the short. Ended up shorting, I think, 13.25 with the stop above this and covered in the 12.60 area. So really, I was able to watch the stock, read it well, follow the tape real close, and get good shorts on it. But at this point, I'm completely short biased, right? So the 50s start holding again, so I'm short massively in the 40s with the stop above that one. Goes up, in fact, comes back down, so I'm re-adding everything, and then I got stopped out in the 65.78 with a little bit of slippage. So this was actually the first trade where it started squeezing higher, it started taking out those reserved offers, and after that it was an easy long 13.75 acting as resistance again. That was a good buy, and then just squeezed into 14, in fact even higher into 14.50 area. This one definitely gonna be on my radar for tomorrow. Quite an interesting stock. I don't want to be a hero, just gonna take small positions, scale in, scale out, gradual positions. Gonna size down on this one because the moves can be really wild, so be careful trading this one, guys. And that's about it. I had a few other symbols if you want to discuss, Archon, TBLT, but no real trades on that one. Even BOXL, just one small short in the 310, covered in the 290 area, right around this one. So covered in the 295s, and that was it. Like a small short, didn't get my full size. The borders were sort of hard. So that's about it from me for today, guys. Thanks again for watching. This is Krishna Joshi with 7 Points Capital. Have a good one.